Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, first published in 1818, is a novel that has captivated readers for over 2 centuries. Its cultural, historical, and literary significance is immense. Here are some facts highlight the rich historical, literary, and philosophical background of Frankenstein, making it clear why the novel has endured for more than 200 years as a foundational work in both Gothic literature and science fiction. Its exploration of human ambition, scientific ethics, and the consequences of creation continues to spark conversation and inspire new interpretations. 1. Mary Shelley's age and inspiration. Young author, Mary Shelley was just 18 years old when she conceived the idea for Frankenstein, and she was 20 when it was published. Summer of 1816. Year Without a Summer. The novel's inception is linked to the famous summer of 1816, which was unusually cold and dark due to the eruption of Mount Tambora in 1815. This Year Without a Summer left the Shelleys and their friends, including Lord Byron and John Polidori, indoors in Switzerland, where they entertained themselves by writing ghost stories. It was during this stay at Lord Byron's villa that Shelley first came up with the idea for Frankenstein after a vivid dream. 2. Scientific Revolution and the Age of Enlightenment. Frankenstein was written during a period of rapid scientific discovery and technological change. This era, known as the Age of Enlightenment, fostered curiosity about the boundaries of human knowledge, especially in biology and electricity. Galvanism. The novel was likely influenced by experiments with electricity conducted by scientists like Luigi Galvani, who discovered that electrical currents could make dead animal muscles twitch. Shelley's depiction of Victor Frankenstein bringing his creature to life through the spark of life reflects this fascination with reanimating the dead. 3. The Prometheus Myth. The full title of the novel is Frankenstein, or the Modern Prometheus. In Greek mythology, Prometheus is a titan who defied the gods by giving fire, a symbol of knowledge, to humanity, which led to severe punishment. Victor Frankenstein, like Prometheus, seeks forbidden knowledge by creating life but is ultimately punished by the consequences of his actions. The novel draws on themes of hubris, excessive pride, warning of the dangers when humans attempt to play God and overreach their limits in the pursuit of knowledge. 4. Gothic novel and romanticism. Frankenstein is a prime example of Gothic literature, a genre that emphasizes dark, mysterious settings, horror, and the supernatural. However, Shelley's novel also integrates elements of romanticism, focusing on emotion, nature, and the sublime. Nature plays a powerful role in the novel, reflecting both beauty and danger. The dramatic, wild landscapes of the Swiss Alps and the Arctic serve as symbolic backdrops for the novel's themes of isolation and despair. 5. First science fiction novel. Frankenstein is often considered one of the first works of science fiction. Rather than relying on magic or myth, Shelley's novel uses scientific concepts, however speculative, to explain the creation of life. This makes Shelley a pioneering figure in a genre that would later include authors like H. G. Wells and Isaac Asimov. 6. Social and political commentary. Shelley's novel reflects the social and political anxieties of her time, particularly concerns about unchecked progress, social alienation, and the consequences of creating life. Shelley's mother, Mary Wollstonecraft, was an early feminist, and some scholars interpret the novel as a critique of patriarchal systems, where male-dominated science and industry create disaster without consideration for the human costs. 7. The creature's humanity. In popular culture, Frankenstein is often misunderstood, with the creature referred to as Frankenstein. However, in the novel, the creature has no name, and he is not a mindless monster as depicted in later films. Shelley's creature is highly intelligent, learning to speak and read, and his rejection by society highlights themes of alienation and identity. The novel explores the creature's deep yearning for companionship and his growing hatred for humanity due to his exclusion and suffering, making him both a tragic and sympathetic figure. 8. Different versions of the novel. There are two primary versions of Frankenstein, the 1818 original edition and the heavily revised 1831 edition. In the 1831 version, Shelley made significant changes, including a more passive portrayal of Victor and a greater focus on fate and destiny, influenced by her life experiences, including the death of her husband, Percy Bysshe Shelley. 9. Impact on popular culture. Frankenstein has had an enormous impact on literature, film, and pop culture. The 1931 film adaptation starring Boris Karloff established much of the visual iconography we associate with the creature: bolts in the neck, flat head, and stiff movements, even though these details do not appear in Shelley's novel. The novel has been adapted into countless movies, plays, and TV shows, and it remains a staple in discussions of ethics, science, and technology. 10. Exploration of moral and ethical questions. Frankenstein raises questions about scientific responsibility. It examines what happens when humans pursue knowledge without regard for the moral implications, making it relevant today in debates surrounding AI, genetic engineering, and cloning. Victor's failure to consider the consequences of his experiment serves as a cautionary tale. 11. Influence of Mary Shelley's parents. Radical thinkers. Mary Shelley was the daughter of two prominent intellectuals, Mary Wollstonecraft, an early advocate for women's rights, and William Godwin, a political philosopher. Wollstonecraft's A Vindication of the Rights of Women, 1792, argued for gender equality, while Godwin's Political Justice, 1793, critiqued authority and promoted anarchism. Their ideas about individual freedom, social justice, and the pursuit of knowledge likely shaped Mary's worldview and influenced the themes of Frankenstein. Legacy of Wollstonecraft. Mary Shelley's life was marked by the legacy of her mother, who died shortly after her birth. Some literary critics believe that Frankenstein reflects Shelley's exploration of creation and responsibility, as she contemplates issues of life, death, and the consequences of human actions. 12. Frankenstein and the Romantic Movement. Romantic Rebellion. Mary Shelley was part of the Romantic movement, which included writers like Percy Bysshe Shelley, her husband, Lord Byron, and Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Romantics emphasized emotion, nature, and the sublime, the awe-inspiring beauty and terror of the natural world. Shelley's novel reflects these ideals, especially in its vivid descriptions of nature and the creature's emotional torment. Critique of Enlightenment rationality. While Frankenstein embraces some aspects of Romanticism, it also critiques the era's faith and scientific progress. Victor Frankenstein embodies the Enlightenment ideal of pursuing knowledge at all costs, but the novel reveals the dangers of unchecked scientific ambition. 13. Frankenstein and social commentary on class. Class and society. Frankenstein can also be read as a commentary on class struggles. The creature, rejected by society and forced to live in isolation, can be seen as a metaphor for the marginalized and oppressed. Shelley was keenly aware of the disparities between the aristocracy, to which her husband, Percy, belonged, and the working class. Some critics interpret the creature's plight as an allegory for the suffering of the poor and disenfranchised. The Industrial Revolution. The novel was written during the early days of the Industrial Revolution, when technological advancements were reshaping society. Factories, machines, and mass production were transforming both urban and rural life. Shelley's portrayal of the creature, a being constructed through unnatural processes, echoes concerns about the dehumanizing effects of industrialization. 14. Influence of John Milton's Paradise Lost. Literary intertextuality. Mary Shelley drew inspiration from John Milton's Paradise Lost, 1667, which explores themes of creation, rebellion, and the fall from grace. The creature reads Paradise Lost and sees parallels between his own suffering and that of Satan, who is cast out of heaven for defying God. This intertextual reference deepens the creature's sense of alienation, as he identifies both with Satan's rebellion and Adam's innocence. Creation and rebellion. Like Milton's Satan, the creature in Frankenstein defies his creator, Victor, in response to the pain and rejection he experiences. The novel also draws parallels between Victor and God, as well as the creature and Adam, exploring the power dynamics between creator and creation. 15. Influence of Samuel Taylor Coleridge's The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. Another major influence on Frankenstein is Coleridge's poem The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, 1798. The poem tells the story of a sailor who brings a curse upon himself by killing an albatross, paralleling Victor Frankenstein's act of transgression by creating life unnaturally. In both stories, the protagonists are tormented by guilt and their inability to escape the consequences of their actions. 16. The anonymous publication and gender bias. Anonymous release. When Frankenstein was first published in 1818, it was released anonymously. Many early readers and critics assumed that Mary's husband, Percy Bysshe Shelley, was the author, due to the novel's sophisticated prose and scientific themes. Percy even contributed the preface to the first edition, which reinforced this misconception. Gender and authorship. When it was later revealed that Mary Shelley was the true author, some critics were surprised that a woman could write such a complex and terrifying story. This reflects the gender bias of the time, when women writers were often dismissed or not taken seriously, especially in genres like science fiction or gothic horror. 17. Philosophical themes, responsibility and ethics. Frankenstein is deeply philosophical, raising questions about scientific responsibility and the ethical implications of creating life. Victor Frankenstein's failure to take responsibility for his creation reflects a larger critique of society's neglect of its most vulnerable members. The novel asks, what does it mean to be a creator? And how should creators, whether scientists or parents, treat their creations? Moral philosophy. Shelley's novel intersects with the ideas of moral philosophers like Jean-Jacques Rousseau, who argued that humans are born good but are corrupted by society. The creature starts as a blank slate, seeking kindness and understanding, but is gradually turned into a monster by society's cruelty. 18. Shelley's personal tragedies. Loss and grief. Shelley's personal life was marked by tragedy, which influenced her writing of Frankenstein. By the time she wrote the novel, she had already experienced the death of her first child, and she would later lose 3 more children in infancy. This sense of loss and grief permeates the novel, particularly in the creature's deep longing for companionship and Victor's despair over the consequences of his creation. Percy Bysshe Shelley's influence. Mary Shelley's husband, Percy Bysshe Shelley, was a celebrated romantic poet, and his ideas about radical politics, free love, and atheism influenced her thinking. Some scholars argue that Percy's idealism, as well as his own tragic fate, he died in a boating accident in 1822, is reflected in Victor's character, driven by ambition but ultimately destroyed by his own hubris. 19. The Arctic setting and exploration. Frankenstein is framed by an Arctic expedition led by Captain Robert Walton, who encounters Victor Frankenstein in the frozen wilderness. The Arctic setting, with its isolation, harshness, and sublimity, reflects the novel's romantic themes of human ambition and the power of nature. Exploration and discovery. The Arctic setting can also be seen as a metaphor for the dangers of exploration and discovery. Just as Walton seeks to explore the unknown regions of the Earth, Victor seeks to uncover the secrets of life. Both are driven by ambition, and both face consequences for their pursuit of knowledge. 20. The debate over nature versus nurture. The novel engages in a debate over nature versus nurture, a key philosophical question that asks whether a person's character is shaped by their inherent nature or by their environment and experiences. The creature starts off as innocent and benevolent but becomes violent and vengeful as a result of the cruelty and rejection he experiences. Shelley's novel suggests that society's treatment of individuals plays a significant role in shaping their behavior. 21. Frankenstein's enduring relevance. Frankenstein remains a powerful and relevant work today, especially in light of modern scientific advancements. The novel's exploration of bioethics, genetic engineering, and artificial intelligence resonates with current debates about the limits of science, the responsibilities of creators, and the ethical dilemmas of playing God. Issues like cloning and AI have led to discussions about Frankenstein as a timeless warning about the consequences of unregulated scientific pursuit. Thanks for listening and watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Like this video. It helps more people find these classic stories. Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think.